Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm David Grubb, and this is the Post Up here on Boot Crew Media. Of course, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to your Thursday edition of the Post Up with David Grubb here on Boot Crew Media. I, of course, am your host, David Grubb. I hope you're doing well this week. Today, we're going to start by talking about the second biggest factor in whether the Pelicans will have a successful season or not. Zion Williamson and his status, of course, are number one, but number two is Willie Green, the head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans, and how he does this season will determine whether the Pelicans do or do not make any progress after suffering one of the worst seasons in franchise history. It's unusual for a team typically to keep a coach after that kind of season. But the Pelicans and Joe Dumars have indicated that they want to give Willie Green another shot. His contract status, it's pretty much believed that he's a lame duck at this point. He has not received an extension on his deal. This is probably the last year of his contract. So there's a lot for Willie to prove. The reasons that you would cite to keep Willie Green would be that the first 3 seasons of his coaching career, the Pelicans got better each and every season, improving by 6 wins after his first year and improving by another 7 after his second year. They reached the playoffs twice. They made the play-in all 3 years. They had a winning record 2 out of 3 seasons. They established a team record for road wins during the 2023-24 season. They were in first place during the 2022-23 season up until Zion got injured, and the season started to fall apart that year. They were an undermanned team, and they made it to the playoffs, got through the play-in, and faced the Phoenix Suns, and were competitive against the Suns by and large in that playoff series loss. So those are the reasons to keep Willie Green. But the reasons to not keep Willie Green, to me, are far more compelling. When you look at just what the status of the NBA is, where the Pelicans are positionally in the Western Conference and in the league, and what the needs of this team really are from a strategic standpoint. Number one, I think that your head coach has to excel in one of 2 areas. You either have to be a phenomenal tactician or you have to be a phenomenal administrator. You can be a hybrid of those 2, but you had better be at least one. And from where I stand and from the evidence that we have, Willie Green is neither. He is widely considered someone who does not empower his coaching staff. The player development coaches seem to do their jobs and work well with players. But as far as his assistants, whether it's James Borrego or any of the lead assistants who have been on Willie Green's staff, they've not been able to put their imprints on what the Pelicans are trying to do. Offensively, this team remains archaic in its approach, suffering from an inability to do the most minor things of a successful NBA offense, like take advantage of the corner 3, like generate pace on a consistent basis with players who are more adept at running than playing in half-court sets. The inability to generate a consistent and cohesive plan to develop young players while allowing your starters to develop. There just hasn't been the type of strategic success for Willie Green in that regard on the court, whether it's after timeouts, whether it's late game situations. The Pelicans have consistently fallen short in the strategic areas of the game, the administrative areas of the game, whether it's putting together minutes, whether it's assigning your assistants, finding those. Willie Green either lacked the power under David Griffin or has been unable to attract the type of assistants who can make an imprint on this team. He has struggled even in lineups when they've been healthy to put the right players on the floor together and maximize the matchups on the court. And then his relationships off the court have suffered as well. There are reports of friction with certain players on the team over the years, which they're always going to be, but they can't be your best players. And Willie Green seems to have a way of irritating or having conflict with the better players on this roster, whether it be, again, from his inability to strategize and create opportunities for players or just his inability to connect with them. And that was supposed to be the strength of Willie Green, was his ability to reach players and, as a former player, understand what their needs were, understand how to connect with them and get them the most out of them. I don't think you can say in any particular season that you've gotten the most out of any of these players. While a guy like Trey Murphy has improved, do we think we could have seen more out of Trey? I think we do. While Herb Jones has improved, do we think we could see more out of Herb? I think we do. And some of that is the natural evolution of players, but some of that is really contingent on the fact that Willie Green has struggled to create definable roles and build an identity for the New Orleans Pelicans. Are they a running team? Are they a half-court team? Are they a defensive-minded team? What are they? Because they try to be a master of all, a jack of all trades and a master of none. And typically that is not an insult. You know, the way that phrase is set up, it's, if you look into the history of it, it's not an insult, but in the basketball sense, you have to have something you can rely on consistently that you can go back to when things aren't right. And you know what your optimal way to perform is. We know what the optimal way for the Pelicans to perform. We've seen them at their best, and it's when they are putting pressure on the other team defensively, you know, harassing the ball at the point of attack, creating turnovers, and getting out on the floor and running, and then finishing in transition, and then in the half court being quick about their decisions and allowing players to get in, rotating the defense, allowing players to take advantage either by quick dribbles and attacking the bucket or swinging the basketball across the perimeter for open shots. We know that's how they're successful because we've seen it plenty of times. But far too often, as players have indicated, the Pelicans have had to rely on great individual nights in order to win games. And in a league where, yes, star players are the most dominant factor in whether a team wins or loses. Yes, but you have to maintain your identity when the stars are not around. You have to be able to play consistently no matter who's on the court. You have to maintain your principles game in and game out. And the Pelicans are unable to do that. Now, there are again, challenges to that. The lack of practice, the shortened summer league, shortened training camp in the NBA. And those are challenges to get over. But those are the challenges that every coach faces now. And there's a tremendous amount of turnover every year in the NBA. And yet, no matter what, you see teams that are able to overcome these challenges. And why can't the Pelicans? It's not really important as to why Willie Green has failed at any of these areas. Whether it's inexperience as a first-time head coach and the learning curve that goes along there, whether it's an inability to do the things that he's been asked. That doesn't matter. What matters is they're not getting done. And the Pelicans cannot afford another season of not feeling uncompetitive in certain areas. The Pelicans have to win at home, and that's been a struggle for Willie Green. Prior to last season, they were under 500 at home. They have struggled against the Eastern Conference. They have struggled against, the best teams in the league. Though they have some impressive wins, absolutely, generally they struggle when they've played the best teams in the league, particularly at home. So the Pelicans have a lot of climbing to do, and they need leadership that's going to put them in the best possible position, especially for players who have not had a lot of leadership in their careers. Saddiq Bey is not coming from winning situations, having played in Detroit prior to their ascent and having played with the Wizards, a team that's been bad historically. Jordan Poole has some winning experience. Kevon Looney has some winning experience. Some of these Pelicans have played in a playoff series or two, but there are no winners here, who are going to be doing the lion's share of the work. And so they need leadership. They need a head coach who is going to set the tone night in and night out, who's going to keep the team from having these horrible starts, who's going to keep the team from having terrible third quarters, who's going to win games late because he knows how to use his timeouts, because he's not giving out a challenge in the first possession of the game just to get possession on a ball that went out of bounds. Like, what's the point of that? Those kind of decisions are short-sighted, and you need someone who's going to be more proactive and a bit more reactive. One of the big criticisms of Willie Green has been that he does not stand up for his players, that he either watches the physical beating that Zion Williamson takes and doesn't do anything about it. He watches his players get out of control in games and doesn't really do anything about it. He watches his team get fouled or taken advantage of by referees. He does nothing about it. He's not been I think he's been ejected from one game since he's been with the Pelicans. And even then it felt disingenuous. His faith and his beliefs are not a hindrance to doing a good job as head coach. But I think Willie Green at times uses those as a blanket to not engage in some of the behaviors that he may need to. You don't have to embarrass yourself or demean yourself to show occasional outrage at times, because some things are outrageous in life. And sometimes you do have to scream. Sometimes you do have to yell to bring attention to them. But you can do that without demeaning yourself. Willie Green doesn't have to use the kind of language maybe that would, he would be objectionable to, but you got to stand up for your players. The fans need you to do that. The team needs you to do that. And I think his reputation needs it at this point. Don't be disingenuous about it, but just reflect, look internally and say, what does this team need from me? And a head coach is the representative of the organization. So in that, you have to fight in the moment for your players. There's a lot hinging on this season in a number of ways. If it fails, you could see a full roster rebuild. If it succeeds, you could be seeing the seeds planted for some good basketball over the next couple years. But you're in a catch-22 here. If the Pelicans do well this year and Willie Green stays on as coach, do you feel it's sustainable? And if they do poorly, it could set the franchise back further. So I think Joe Dumars, if this season goes sideways very quickly, he's going to have to be able to make a quick decision and find a new head coach and a new direction for this franchise. Willie Green, as long as he's under contract, he gets the opportunity to keep his job, and he can do that by winning games. And we'll see if that happens this season. All right. In some Pelicans news, as you probably already know, they have signed Bryce McGowens. He is a 3-year player drafted in the second round, the 10th pick of the second round by, I believe, Minnesota. They traded him to the Charlotte Hornets. That's where he started his career with the Hornets, played 2 seasons there, then spent last season with the Portland Trail Blazers. Only appeared in 13 games, a career 32% three-point shooter, has been decent from the corner spot. But I think most importantly, McGowens is there to try to provide some depth in the backcourt where the Pelicans just don't have a lot of depth. It just makes you kind of wonder, though, to give him a 2-way deal when you still have the roster spot available that you gave up for Antonio Reeves, who signed a 2-way deal with the Hornets. So it's kind of like you've traded those 2-way players for this. Did you get a better player than what you had in Antonio Reeves, a guy who had proven that he could shoot at the NBA level? It just seems like the Pelicans made a mistake here. Like, it just feels, again, as you look at this, why did you let Antonio Reeves walk if this is the guy you're signing? Yeah, he's a little taller, but he's not a better shooter, and shooting is the thing that the Pelicans need most if you're adding more perimeter players. So does Bryce McGowens add to that? I don't think that he does. We shall see. Again, not a great I don't think it's a great signing. I don't think it's a bad signing. It's just I'm indifferent to it. I'm indifferent to it at this stage. Kendrick Perkins, who has been, at one time he was very critical of the Pelicans organization. And he kind of had his come to Jesus meeting led by Chris Connor. He had to talk to the Pelicans fans to deal with them. And since then, Perk has been a little bit more analytical in his approach to the Pelicans. And he has talked recently about Derik Queen in particular. He talked about the criticism that Pelicans got for drafting Derik Queen. And he says, quote, people have been hating on the New Orleans Pelicans since the draft, wondering why they traded away a pick. You know why they traded away a pick? Because they got Derik Queen. And if anybody has any type of basketball IQ and followed this young man, Derik Queen is going to be special. I'm telling you that straight up. He is a baby Jokic, baby Şengün. The man has the complete package. He's going to be special. If things don't pan out with Zion Williamson after this season, I'm telling you right now, Derik Queen, he's going to be a problem. He's arguably the most skilled player in this draft with an upside, with a huge upside. He has no ceiling. So Kendrick Perkins, who was one of the better post defenders in the NBA during his time, certainly is high on Derik Queen. And I know a lot of Pelicans fans are high on Derik Queen as well. If we're looking at those comparisons of Alperen Şengün and Nikola Jokic, well, then let's be realistic then. I think that helps. And again, this is not a negative thing. This helps to put some perspective of what you can expect from Derik Queen in year one if he's along those lines. In year one, Alperen Şengün at the age of 19 posted just under 10 points per game, 5.5 boards, 2.5 assists, less than 1 steal, less than 1 block, but they were close to those. He shot 47% from the field and 25% from three on just under 2 attempts per game. Jokic was a little bit better, averaging 10.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and just under 1 block per game, shooting 51% from the floor and 33% from three on just over 1 attempt. He was 20 years old at the time. So Derik Queen will come into the season starting at 20, turning 21 in December. So I think if you are looking at that, if he gets the 10 points, you should be happy in year one. Jokic started 55 games as a rookie and played about 22 minutes a night and gave you 10 points. So if you're getting 10 points from Derik Queen, if you're getting 6 boards, if you're getting 2 or 3 assists, that's a lot for his rookie year. That's the bar I think that we need to be putting in place for Derik Queen and seeing if he's around those marks for his first season. Somewhere between, you want to see between 47 and probably 47 and 50% field goal percentage. You want to see that 3-point rate at about 1 to 1.5 per game. And you want to see a percentage somewhere above 28%, between 28 and 30%. I think for a first year player, that would be acceptable, especially at his position, adapting to this role. Free throw wise, we'll see what he does. But I think, again, his stroke is good at the free throw line. So can he manage his turnovers? And can he give you that steady kind of performance? If you get those things out of Derik Queen, I think that'll be a good start for him. And it allows him to continue to develop under a normal track rather than having the expectation of having to be a franchise savior in front of him. That's just a little too much to put on anybody, particularly a player who has some refining to do in his game to truly get to, the level that he should be down the road. One of the big questions that has come about the Pelicans and is consistent over the last several years is how do the Pelicans, get themselves a better reputation in the market and around the league? And, at one time, the argument has been to try to go after the Jazz nickname, but I think that's just gone. It doesn't mean anything anymore. You know what I mean? Like, while it is never going to be appropriate for Utah to be the Jazz, they've put their stamp on that name. When you think about the Jazz, you're going to associate it with Karl Malone and John Stockton and Mormons and Salt Lake City and those types of things. It's not our name anymore. It's not the city of New Orleans' name. So you need to find something. And I think that one of the bigger problems is that the Pelican, while it is the state bird, New Orleans is not Louisiana. And I don't say that, with any type of animosity in my heart. I'm just saying, Louisiana don't look at New Orleans like it's part of Louisiana. New Orleans don't look at New Orleans like it's part of Louisiana. So the name should probably be more indicative of the city. Now, I don't know what that is. Y'all can put your suggestions below. But I think the name should represent the city a bit better. I think when you think about Saints, it doesn't, people don't think about the greater Catholic tradition in the state of Louisiana. They think about what they see in New Orleans. They think about St. Louis Cathedral and that backdrop whenever you see the images on a Sunday for football going through downtown in the French Quarter in New Orleans. You think about the influence of architecture and those things on the city. So Saints, it feels right. Even though it's an odd name in the scope of football and sports, it's not an animal, it's not a soldier, it's not one of those things. It's the logo is a flower, but for folks in New Orleans, that fleur-de-lis means something. So I think that's been the problem with the Pelicans is the intent to name the Pelicans was before the Bensons even bought the team. They wanted to name them the Pelicans, and I think that if you had given the people of New Orleans and maybe the Gulf Coast as well some say into what this team should be and in the color palette, then I think you could generate some more goodwill because the fans will buy the merchandise regardless. They're proud to be Pelicans fans. but I think they could be prouder to be something else. Even if you retain the colors like the black and the neon green, or the black and the purple and the green, whatever. Even if those are the new colors, I think that there's a name out there that could really re-energize the fan base. The Hornets was not chosen by the people. The Hornets were a transplanted team. They weren't New Orleans' team. The Pelicans were not picked by the people either. They were picked by an owner who maybe didn't, know basketball as well in Tom Benson when they took over. Wanted to appeal to the state, but it's not the state's team. It's New Orleans' team. And I think that should reflect the city much more. I think even the court should reflect the city a bit more. It doesn't feel like New Orleans. You see a lot of cities with their skylines. You see things, their images that you'd like to see maybe on that hardwood to represent the city better, to make the court feel more New Orleanian, and that is important here. It's not about how fancy the things are. It's about how comfortable things are. It's about do they feel like you're really comfortable in being a part of them. And there is a family aspect to the Saints that even when they were bad, even when they didn't get on TV, there's a family aspect to it that has persisted. With the Pelicans, it's much more of an uprising feeling of people who are fighting against something constantly to prove that they have strength. And they do, but I think they could fly a little bit prouder under a different banner. And I think they would love to be a part of that process. I think if Gail Benson and the organization wanted to engender some goodwill, and you've already, gone through this change with Joe Dumars and these things, it's probably time to maybe have a community-based contest and let people bring their input as to what the next name of this team should be. Coincide all these things. If there's going to be, it doesn't have to change tomorrow. You can line it up with the stadium renovations, all those things, build towards a crescendo of people having more hope in this organization. Take advantage of this new time right now and revitalize this all at once in an idea, but take your time in implementing it and make sure you do it right. But I think it would be a great thing to finally have something that the people of New Orleans can hold on to and gravitate to with the organization. All right, that's going to do it for today. If you got any questions or topic suggestions, please go ahead and leave those below. It's the dog days of summer now, so we're scraping the bottom looking for topics. So I'd appreciate any help you got for me. Anyway, you know how to follow me on social media at DM Grub on Instagram, on Twitter. You can also find me on TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss anything on Boot Crew Media. Until the next time, this has been The Post Up with David Grubb. I'm David Grubb. You're you. See you next week.